let's go around and each of you answer this first one, which is, what do you think most manufacturers get wrong about aftermarket pricing?
Yeah, maybe we can talk about customer lifecycle management, right? Maybe some of the pricing models would be, it's not necessarily like outcome-based pricing, but if we think about warranties, like I'm able to, you buy this thing and I will be including as part of the warranty the value of the price of potential spare parts that might come in the future, right? That could help defend that initial due diligence of customer negotiating heavily upfront. Say, okay, this is what we could be offering in exchange for you kind of agreeing to this particular price. Yeah, we know that machinery versus spare parts are two different lines of business units, but how can you build or bring together those revenue streams upfront in order to ultimately defend the value that you bring to the customer going forward?
In general, I think product life cycle is a real important consideration in how they should do their pricing, and most businesses don't do that. Whether it's automotive or even spare parts, they just don't really work that into their pricing strategy.
Something I was thinking about with the tariff, it probably means car prices are going to go up, right? I mean, that's almost a certainty. You have a car for a while. Maybe you're 7 or 8 years in and you start to think, do I repair this or do I replace it? If the replacement cost is higher, that means you're more likely to repair, which puts more importance or emphasis on the whole replacement part, spare part, even depending on, aftermarket thing. So that probably means that structurally your replacement stuff becomes much more important.
Yeah. If you hearken back to the last time we had a recession, I remember back then we were talking about the same thing. It's like, well, people are more hesitant to buy a new car now. So this should be good for the parts business because people, rather than trade it in, get a new car, they're going to be fixing the old beater because they just can't afford to buy a new one. That's probably going to be kicking in again.
I'm sure that a lot of organizations are going to try to absorb, right, as a way of trying to retain volumes. If we go back again to dynamic pricing, tracking competitors, yes, it is true that in the short term, some organizations might be willing to absorb partially the cost instead of kind of, pass it to 100%, but they might be willing to maybe take a little bit of a hit on that, trying to capture market, right, from others that offset that margin erosion. So I think that organizations should be ready to be able to measure, track, and react. If we think about, profitability, end-to-end, price waterfall, price elasticity, right, pricing power. I mean, all these topics are so relevant, right? Companies that have pricing power, they will be able to, pass through these tariffs right away, and customers will still be winning, right?
I can foresee where a lot of businesses they're going to try to absorb some of the cost increase, but then they're going to get to the end of the quarter and it's going to affect their bottom line, and their profitability is going to be suffering because they've absorbed some costs. So there might be a couple of different waves of price increases, where they take an initial price increase of part of the tariffs, and then they come back after the Wall Street beats them down for missing their numbers, and they'll put another increase through.
I think Mike is spot on by saying once people actually figure out what the reality of absorbing a 20% cost increase, 25, maybe more, they're going to say, oh no, and have to have a second round of price increases.
Yeah.
But it does come into the, like, I'm always trying to come up with a gimmicky term, a pricing prisoner's dilemma for this, where how do I act? Well, I need to see what my competitors are going to do to act. And like Israel said, that first mover is going to have to be brave.
Yeah.
This is another good conversation. I appreciate you guys